Hello, everyone. This is Energy Work with Cheza, and today I'm going to talk about 4 types of thinking to avoid. So let's get into it. The first one I'm going to go with is fear based thinking. This is when your motivation is fear. And a big problem with this type of thinking is that when you're driven by fear, your outcome is not really going to be what you want or expect it to be. Why? Because fear makes us react. Fear makes us react to things. Fear makes us perceive dangers and threats where there may not be dangers and threats. And one of the biggest reasons for that is that we've never really taken a look at ourselves and thought to ourselves, what are my biggest fears that I've been carrying with me since I was a child? And here's the thing, we develop some of our greatest fears in childhood, maybe while going to school, maybe while growing up with an older brother or sister. We develop certain fears about, let's say, being made fun of, being left out, or feeling left out. In many cases, maybe due to the way our parents' family environment or even our overall culture treats us, we develop these fears. And when we've never really looked at it with awareness and tried to talk to ourselves and like introspect a bit, okay, what are some of my biggest fears? We carry them from our childhood to our adult life. And we continue to look at the world with that lens of a little afraid child, a little scared child, instead of the empowered adult that we are in this moment. There's some words about fear that I really love. It's from one of the people whose work has really influenced me, Thich Nhat Hanh. And in his book Fear, The Essential Wisdom for Getting Through the Storm, he writes these words that really speak to me. He says, well, I am determined not to speak when anger manifests in me. I will practice mindful breathing and walking to recognize and look deeply into my anger. I know that the roots of anger can be found in my wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in myself and the other person. I will speak and listen in such a way as to help myself and the other person to transform suffering and see the way out of difficult situations. I am determined not to spread news that I do not know to be certain, and not to utter words that can cause division or discord. I will practice diligently with joy and skillfulness so as to nourish my capacity for understanding, love, and inclusiveness, gradually transforming the anger, violence, and fear that lie deep in my consciousness. Well, I think these are really beautiful words, and they rather tell you what action to take if you do have some time for self-introspection. One way to go about it is to practice mindfulness and realize anytime that you're acting from a place of fear and anger, to take a look at yourself and really ask yourself what's going on. Well, that's one of the first types of thinking I would avoid. And the other type of thinking, I think, is actually short-term thinking. Short-term thinking, not looking at the bigger picture. Yeah, short-term thinking is reactive thinking, and you don't want to react in life. In life, you want to respond to things and not react. And when you're thinking long-term, you're proactive. It doesn't mean that you have all the details right at this moment. It doesn't mean that everything is all planned. What you do have is a vision and perhaps some short-term goals to reach that vision. And of course, you're going to tweak those goals as you go along, but you know where you're headed. You have a point. Don't listen to people when they tell you that things change too fast and it's no use planning. The key is to plan, but to not view plans as set in stone or written in blood. Plans change, and that's okay. But as long as you have a point to head towards, as long as there's something that you can get to, you can orient yourself in any storm. And short-term thinking doesn't let you do that. Short-term thinking doesn't let you enable that. Only looking at the bigger picture does. So you have to know what it is, where you want to get. And that doesn't have to be 2 months from now or 3 months from now, 2 days from now. I mean, it could be, of course, but it could be something that's 3 years from now or 5 years from now. Yeah. But it's a point that you can orient towards, and then you can orient yourself in any storm. And the third type of thinking, well, that's one I like to talk about as well. You gotta avoid victimized thinking. What is victimized thinking? I know that there's already a lot of awareness about this topic out there, and I think that's really, really great. Victimized thinking is when you believe that bad things only happen to you. So the first thing wrong with this type of thinking is to view things in a rather black and white, rather all or nothing way. Good things, bad things are just label we are giving to things, and it's affecting the way we perceive the situation. So the way you perceive the situation is up to you. You can perceive it as bad and really spoil the rest of the day, or you can perceive it as something else. Maybe something that's not bad. Maybe something that's a challenge or an opportunity. Maybe something that has to happen because something else has to happen because of it. Ever had a bad day and in the morning be really sad, disappointed, or angry, and 3 hours later you realize, oh my God, that happened because I would have never done that if that hadn't happened. And that's what it is really, the type of mentality, the type of mindset you want to have, especially when dealing with problems, and especially when dealing with things that come up in your day that you don't like or you don't want to hear. You don't want to go around saying, oh no, I'm a horrible person, bad things only happen to me, the universe is against me. You don't want to do this. You really want to look at it in a way that the universe is trying to help you, and things are happening because something else needs to happen. And this type of thinking, victimized thinking, actually, it's very draining. It's not only going to drain you of energy, but it's also going to drain your friends, your family. I don't know, maybe your partner. It's going to drain everybody, because at one point, even your most supportive allies are not gonna really be happy to listen to this. Constant negativity about things. And the people who love us, they want to help us. So they don't want to see us in pain, and they want us to take some action. And victimized thinking actually prevents us from taking action, because at every moment when something happens that we think is bad, we can actually take an action to correct it. And that's what we rather want to do. And the fourth type of thinking is actually, I would say, defeatist thinking. And that's losing before you even begin. And that's really the thing where you tell yourself, I'm not even going to do this because it's never going to work out. So whether it's applying for the program you wanted to apply to, whether it's going for your further education, whether it's for starting the project that you're really passionate about but afraid to take the first step, whether it's about something that you should do right now and you don't do it, you're losing before you even begin. And you forget that actually you have control over your situation, so you can take an action. You can control what you do in a particular day or in a particular hour, and you can change this outcome. So if you don't try, it's never gonna come to fruition. It's never gonna happen, and that's when you lose before you even start. So there it is, guys, the 4 types of thinking that you want to avoid. And we also want to talk a little bit about what shall we think? How shall we think? What's the better approach? And I think really you got to think about yourself with a lot of self-awareness and introspection. You have to think authentic. It depends on what is important to you and what your values are. But for me, for example, you're going to think authentic. You're going to think truth. You're going to think inspiration, think creativity, think solutions. You're going to think of the best you can do, the most you can achieve. Yeah, you have to think in a way that you do not project your anger onto others, whether it's your partner, your family, your colleagues, your co-workers, your seniors, your juniors. You have to think that you do not find value in blame and shame. You got to find creative outlets for your anger and frustration. And of course, in life there's going to be frustration, there's going to be disappointment. Of course there's going to be anger, but we are free to feel these emotions, and the best way to do it is to channel these emotions into more creative outlets. And that's also, as one of my favorite spiritual teachers says, and this is something I really love, that in order to be emotionally free, it's okay to dislike. We think that we shouldn't dislike. If we dislike something, we're bad people. That's not true. And then he says, but keep it balanced with creative expression, because projecting anger will drain you of energy. Yeah, and that's what I said. That's very true. When you are stuck in loops of victimized, defeatist, fear-based, or short-term thinking, you're not only draining yourself, you're also draining others of energy. You're draining your environment of energy, and you're projecting anger and blame to everyone. And until you really sit down and do some self-awareness exercises, you won't realize that you're projecting all these deep-seated feelings inside yourself. So you have to be emotionally free in order to not drain yourself and others of energy, so you can do the things that you want, achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And to get there, you have to start recognizing and identifying if you're thinking any of these four ways and what you can do to correct them. That's it. I'll probably be back sooner with something else to talk about. Let me know in the comments if there's a type of thinking that I missed out, or a type of thinking that you think is really necessary to avoid. I'd be glad to know what you think. All right, guys, have a blessed day. See you later.